We can go ahead and get started. If any of the regents, legislators, congressional delegation wouldn't mind sitting around the half horseshoe. We also have drinks in the room to the right here. Help yourself. So just in the interest of time, for those that have to leave early, just feel free to exit when you have to. Again, anytime you want anything to drink, just go to our room next door. We're going to open that up with Chairman Kevin Page giving some open remarks. Then I'll do quick introductions to make sure we know who's here from the legislative body, congressional delegation, and then from our NSHE institutions. With that, Chairman Page.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good evening, fellow regents, Chancellor Riley, senators, assembly members, congressional delegation representatives, presidents, campus representatives, and community representatives. Tonight is the first step in the long and what we hope to fruitful journey during the 80th session under the leadership and governance of Governor Steve Sisolak and elected representatives in Carson City. Starting a month from now, similar choices will be made about the future of the Silver State. The Nevada System of Higher Education, its 8 institutions, more than 20,000 faculty, staff, and 100,000 students attending our colleges and universities for the future of Nevada. Did you know that more than half the jobs in Nevada require some sort of post-secondary education, but fewer than 1/3 of Nevadians have a college degree? Nevada has trailed the rest of the nation in post-secondary education attainment, and this must change. And we all are aware of that. Nevada needs to diversify its workforce as its technological progress make the skills learned in higher education setting more vital than ever. We need more students to attend college, but more importantly, we need more of them to graduate. Together, we face this incredible challenge of creating the skilled workforce our growing economy needs. Tonight, we share with you the pathways we believe will lead our students and evolve us to success. So let's get to work. On behalf of the Board of Regents, welcome. We appreciate you here coming tonight. Chancellor.
Thank you, Chairman Page. And I want to again thank everybody for taking your time. I know it's a busy time of the year with the approaching legislative session, and I know that many of you have been meeting regularly on budgets and the upcoming session. So we do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about higher education. If we could we just briefly go around the room so we know who is in attendance? And I'll start to my left with Assemblywoman.
Assemblywoman Maggie Carlton.
Senator Joyce Woodhouse.
Senator Mo Dennis.
Assemblyman Howard Watts.
Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson.
Senator Keith Pickard.
Push it, just.
Yep. Christopher Royce, CSUN Student Government President for UNLV, as well as the Nevada Student Alliance Chair.
Doug Unger, Chair of the Council of Senate Chairs for the Nevada System of Higher Education.
Kevin Page, Chair of the Board of Regents.
Tracy Bauer with Desert Research Institute on behalf of President Kristen Mabret.
Hi, my name is Erica Herrera, and I'm here on behalf of Senator Jackie Rosen's office.
Senator David Parks. NSHE Regent Sam Lieberman.
Regent Amy Carvalho.
Miguel Davila with Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
I'm Mike Venozzi. I'm the District Director for Congresswoman Susie Lee.
And up north.
Joe Reynolds, Chief General Counsel for NSHE.
Jason Geddes, Regent.
Manel Kramer.
Carol Del Carlo, Regent.
Vice Chancellor of Community Colleges.
Vince Elise, President, WNC.
Crystal Abba, Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs.
I think there's an echo, so if someone's calling in, if you could just mute, that would, I think, help us with the echo that's occurring. I'm going to briefly go over some materials, but at any point, stop. I'll go through it quickly because we have copies for everybody.
Chancellor?
Yes.
We do have people in Elko.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elko?
Yeah, this is Joyce Hellens, President of Great Basin College.
Sonia Seibert, Vice President for Business Affairs.
Hi, I'm Melissa Schultz with the GBC Foundation Board of Trustees and Eric.
Matt McCarty, Great Basin College Foundation Director.
Thank you. Thank you, Elko.
Thank you, Elko.
If I can, we'll start with the presentation. So briefly, we have 8 institutions in Nevada, 7 degree-granting institutions. Down south, we have College of Southern Nevada. We have UNLV. We have DRI and Nevada State College. We have Great Basin up in Elko, Western Nevada College, Truckee Meadows Community College, UNR up north, and also the campus of DRI. We have our 8 institutions. There is an echo there. Yeah. They're looking at the echo. I can say of our presidents, half are female, half are ethnic minorities. I think truly our presidents are representing the growing diversity of our student population. We have several new presidents that you'll hear from briefly who have joined us. We have a very strong team. At the session, the presidents are the spokesperson. They represent the institutions. We want them out there speaking on the behalf of the institutions. In the past, there were concerns that we held them back, that they could not speak forthright. That is not the case. We ask that they coordinate, that we have one message, but we want them in front of you. So they are your key individuals, and you'll hear from them today. They're a dynamic group, and I'm so proud to work with my colleagues here. Enrollment. If we can look at the enrollment, we are a minority system, and we have been for several years. We also are predominantly, if we look at our population, female, about 57%. And we're about equal full-time to part-time with our student population. We have about close to 108,000 students. You'll look at historically of the all-time high we had in 2010, 2011, around the recession, but we've been steadily growing on the number of students moving forward. One of our recent partnerships that we've had with MGM that provides online education to all their employees promises, we hope, to bring in new numbers in the fall when we launch our program in 2019. There's been tremendous interest in that program for our online degrees. If we look at registration fees, Nevada residents do not pay tuition, only registration fees. Non-residents pay both tuition and registration. If you look at us compared to our WICHE state counterparts, we remain consistently below the average tuition and fees when you look at other systems in the western states for our four-year institutions. We also mirror that for our two-year institutions. Again, tuition and fees at our NSHE community colleges remain consistently below the average tuition and fees paid in other states. Our three state supported financial programs, the Governor's Wins Millennial Scholarship, and our understanding is that the funding for that for the next 2 years is in the budget. Tremendously important for our student body. The Silver State Opportunity Grant Program, last year of the $5 million, we spent about 4.1. This year we will spend the full $5 million allocated for the program. The Nevada Promise Program is a last dollar program created in the 2017 session of the Nevada State Legislature. Students who wish to attend a community college and whose fees are not covered by the Millennial Scholarship or a Pell Grant will receive the scholarship. Right now we have about 13,500 applicants, about 10% higher than we did the year prior. We have been having several focus groups with Nevada Promise students. I know Assemblyman Thompson has been to the one down south. Incredible stories of their journeys and coming and entering higher education because they have this opportunity. We're grateful for the legislature and the leadership for many of you in this room for passing that important legislation. Student success. Make no mistake, this is our focus in higher education. We have to do a better job of graduating individuals at our 4-year and 2-year institutions, and we are serious about improving these graduation rates. Before you look at the graduation rates we have of our 4-year institutions. The national average based upon IPEDS, which is 150%, which is a 6-year graduation for a 4-year, is about 59%. You'll see where we're at in 2016, the latest data we have. For our community colleges, the average is about 23.6%. You'll see our graduation rates that we have for our community colleges. The handout that I gave you is a prelude to our Student Success Summit that we'll have on January 17th, 2019. It is 5 hours from 2 o'clock to 7 p.m. We're seeking perspectives from our own institutions about what they are doing right, what have proven to actually increase graduation rates, and how do we scale that up. We're also bringing in external entities. Each of our institutions have their aspirational institutions, those institutions that mirror their demographics. What are they doing right that they have been able to increase graduation rates significantly in some cases? The board will be adopting institution success goals by institution for 2025. I've actually given you kind of the handout of the prelude, a preview of that actually has those 2025 targets. In many cases, the institutions are doubling their graduation. These aren't numbers they picked out of the hat. These are numbers that they talked about with specific strategies about how we change graduation rates. We have the persistence rates we're starting in 2019. Each of the presidents here today will own it. They will own these graduation rates. No excuse in the past. We'll start in 2019. We will track it each year. And we'll be looking about how we make a difference on student success. Two of the areas that we're looking at is one is that how do we get institutional data down to the department level? In talking to those systems, the California state system, Arizona state system, Georgia state that have made significant difference, they said you need to have data, the dashboard at the department level. Faculty need to own it. They need to understand what's happening to their students at that level. The other area that we're going to be talking about and that the board is very interested in is looking at remedial education. The current system we have in remedial education is one that is a failure. It doesn't work. Students that enter remedial education do not go on to gateway classes. Their graduation rates are deplorable. Surrounding weak students with other weak students is not a recipe for success. What is happening nationally is that students are mainstreamed into math and to English, and they are mandated to have tutoring and academic support. But they are on a pathway to graduation when they enter our colleges. This model is proving successful nationally. It is something that we're going to be looking at and discussing at the Student Success Workshop. We'll also be talking with K through 12, a specific partnership with Superintendent Jara to move remediation back to K through 12, is to start testing individuals in their sophomore year, and like our dual enrollment program, have them take their remedial classes their junior and senior year, so they're better prepared when they come in here. We have very specifics that we'll be talking about Friday about that specific partnership centered around the issue of remedial education. I'm excited about this because this is something our board has embraced. This is something we're focused on. We are holding our institutions accountable. We are going to make a difference. I've said this time and time again, a little bit of college doesn't help you. There's no evidence to suggest you're more marketable by taking a few classes. You have to graduate. We tell these wonderful stories about students who are first-generation students who overcome all these barriers to come to us, and then they don't graduate. We need to start telling the students who don't make those stories. We have specific programs, and our presidents are enthusiastically behind this, as are regents. Our budget. Our budget are based upon our goals. I'm not going to go over these goals. These goals are basically what we've adopted with metrics to move the needle in higher education. This is how we built our budget. This is the dialogue we have with our community. Our funding formula. So this is, as we just were talking about with the chair of Finance and Assembly Ways and Means, of looking at our funding formula. This will now be the third session about looking at our funding formula, looking at that data. But this is a performance-based model. This is where nationally systems are moving. It is measured by completed weighted student credit hours. While not tied to enrollment in headcount, it's influenced by headcount and enrollment, but is based upon completion. Reimbursement rate is the same for all our instructional institutions. It's based upon FY18 actual weighted student credit hours, not future projections. And we've seen periodic adjustments recommended by NSHE. In 2017, we asked for an increase funding for CTE courses for community colleges, which were approved. In 2019, we were looking for a proposal to actually increase summer school. I've said this several times. I know I've met with many individuals. Students are going year-round. Increasing graduation rates really is dependent upon us offering more certificates and more classes. I don't see this really as new money. It's just an acceleration of money. But we would like to pilot that to actually move by implementing summer school to show the success that we've had in nursing to other STEM and other workforce-related issues. Our enhancements request. We were asked to keep our request to $120 million, which we did. That's based upon, includes our caseload growth, includes our capacity building. This is institution-specific. This is a continuation of FY19. Initiatives that will go for 5 years. Simply put, it is a focus on our universities for research. It helped us become R1 at both UR and UNLV, which we are extremely proud of. And thanks to the legislature and all the hard work of our institutions that we now have 2 prestigious designations for research. But this program, like the capacity building, has been immensely important for us in reaching our R1 status. And it will be immensely important for us continuing to keep our status, because now we have to keep it. So now that we have it, we need to continue with it. For our state college and for our community college, it's workforce. It is workforce development. That is what our capacity is built around. That is what our focus is at our institutions. As I mentioned before, that we had a proposal. We have a proposal in there for summer school funding. I'm not sure that made the final cut or not, but it is something that we feel very strongly about and is tied on the issue of graduation. It also includes the UNLV School of Medicine ramp up for FY20 and FY21 of a total of $14.3 million. We had a supplemental request that we had submitted to then Governor Sandoval, and that Chairman Page and myself delivered to Governor Sisolak on staff, faculty, and staff compensation. We did have a study that we looked at faculty salaries. What did come out of that is the system having a serious compression issue. This is in line to some of the recommendations that came out of AB 202. We wanted to look at a system-wide plan for addressing the issue. Compression did not happen overnight. We're looking at targeting this over the next 3 sessions, about a 2/3, 1/3 split in order to address the compression issue. This was not part of our base or enhancement budget. It was a supplemental request that we transmitted to both the previous governor and the governor-elect. Our supplemental request, these are non-formula budget enhancements. I won't go over these in detail. Some of the presidents will touch upon them. I can mention that president education is something that the current governor has expressed a lot of interest in, and expanding that effort both at TMCC and Western Nevada College. The capital improvement projects for the construction, this was actually voted on by the Board of Regents. Our top 3 construction projects: the education building, the health sciences building, and the UNLV engineering and academic and research building. I understand that 1 and 2 were included in the CIP projects. And then we also addressed many of the planning projects that you see listed there. With that, I will stop because we're going to turn it over to the presidents to have a short presentation from each of our presidents. But I'll stop if there's any questions or clarification that is needed. With that, why don't we start with the presidents? Dr. Miena.
The slides. Who's in charge of the slides? Oh, there we go. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you. UNLV is so happy to be starting off 2019 with the important validation, as the Chancellor said, of achieving Carnegie R1 status, as well as a real sense of responsibility to maintain that designation for all that it brings to our community and to our state. A university that is deeply involved in research is a university that contributes to the economic development of a region through innovation and workforce development. Now, accompanying this research effort is a parallel effort on student success to raise those retention and graduation rates that you just saw. These two efforts on the research and student success front have the potential to transform our state. And of course, we need the state's help in fulfilling this mission. And so I'd like to say a few words about some of our key funding initiatives and their purpose. So in terms of capacity building, we need funds to, of course, continue growing enrollment and providing the high quality instruction and services that fuel student success and research productivity. But over here, what we are also proposing is an enhancement for the Health for Nevada initiative, which aims to prepare more students for the growing healthcare industry. And if you just saw the federal numbers on jobs growth, you will remember that the healthcare was the sector that experienced the largest growth across the country. This will also allow us to increase the size of that industry in our state to produce more effective healthcare-related products and services, and to conduct research that improves the health of Nevadans through improved quality of healthcare and prevention of disease and injury. And so these funds would be used to hire and fund faculty, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, and support staff, as well as to equip those labs and research space that is needed to achieve these goals. The investment will have a direct and positive impact on Nevada by increasing the number of healthcare professionals, health-related jobs, and economic diversification. And the targeted areas in this program are health disparities research, which is a really important area as we really do see the impact of that, sports research and innovation, neuroscience with a particular emphasis on neurodegenerative disorders, and big data. Another very important funding initiative for us is the continuing funding of the School of Medicine. So there are now 2 60-person cohorts in our medical schools, in year 1 of the program and year 2 respectively. So that's 120 students. We have now received an incredible 2,000 applications for the first class to start in July. This $14.3 million enhancement we're requesting is to fund that 3rd class and 4th class next year. And so what it does, it completes the original commitment of a medical school with 4 ongoing cohorts of approximately 60 students each for a total headcount of 240 students. So this enhancement is not intended to grow the medical school, but simply to build it out to the original capacity intended. We cannot overstate the importance of this medical school to Southern Nevada and ultimately to the whole state. It is a transformative development that will change healthcare in the state, create jobs, diversify the economy, increase research expenditures, and improve the quality of life for Nevadans. Now, although we came in 3rd in the list, I want to talk to you about our request for some funding for the engineering building. Engineering and computer science are as important to workforce development in the region as is healthcare. According to the Governor's Office of Economic Development, 7 of the most high-demand occupations right now in the state are in engineering. These are degrees in which students are recruited before they even graduate. Now, reflecting that demand is the fact that enrollment in the College of Engineering has grown by 50% in the last 10 years, and computer science has grown by 219%. Graduate student numbers are also up by 20%. The problem is that we are beyond capacity now. We need more office, lab, and classroom space to meet that demand. In fact, we have anywhere from 17.5% to 213% less engineering space than our peer and aspirational institutions. Once UNR's engineering building is completed, they will have well over double the amount of space for a comparable number of students. So we're requesting a match of $33 to $34 million that we will match with a combination of institutional and private funds. The next initiative I'd like to talk about briefly is summer school. The rationale for this request is entirely based on our student success mission. Getting students through programs on time is essential to retaining them and graduating them. These funds would allow us to enhance these summer term offerings and focus on at-risk students so that we can close that achievement gap and decrease the time to completion and entry into that workforce. Priority would be given to STEM courses to alleviate bottlenecks, expand teaching and tutoring support, and support the development and redesign of courses and curriculum to support this kind of retention and graduation. Finally, we are seeking matching planning funds for a science academic research building. From fall 2005 to 2017, the UNLV College of Sciences experienced a 62% increase in enrollment, and even greater increases happen in community health with an increase of 139, allied health sciences 89% increase, and nursing a 72% increase. So again, this increased student interest in these science and health related programs are matched by a need in our Southern Nevada community for health related research services, products, and innovations, including research on the very important, with our aging population, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And we cannot meet this demand or this need without expanding the space in which to teach and in which to conduct such research. UNLV is currently in a significant space deficit situation for classrooms, labs, and study space. Our space deficit is substantial again compared to peer institutions. And I'd just like to conclude by saying that these funding initiatives are crucial to maintaining and really cementing our status as a Carnegie Very High Research institution. We are thrilled that we've entered this exclusive club of the top 3% of the U.S. university in terms of research. But this is a fluid environment in which every institution out there continues to aim higher and continues to achieve more. And also, I'd like to stress that these funding initiatives target undergraduate student success, which, although not part of that R1 formula, remains our top priority. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry, I don't. Yes.
Hi, Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson. So I have a question on your UNLV School of Medicine slide.
Mm-hmm.
I know you were saying that you're recruiting for your third and fourth cohort?
Third cohort now.
Cohort. So I was just wondering, do you have like information like how many students are local/Nevada residents versus out of state? And then the second part, and I don't know if you can do this on your application, but do you ask anything about commitment to practice in Nevada?
We do ask that in our interviews, but our biggest insurance is getting people who are Nevadans or who have very close ties to Nevada. In terms of how we've fared, we have 2,000 applications. A lot of them are out of state. But if you look at the number of students that we have admitted after these interviews, they are in a cohort of 60, have been for the last 2 years, a handful of out-of-state students with about 52, 53, 55, something in that range are Nevada residents or students with very close ties to Nevada. So although we can't make them stay here, our insurance against them leaving is that they have families here, that they've grown up here, that they have a history with our state.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Keith Pickard, for the record. Speaking of the medical school, how is the accreditation coming? When do we anticipate being fully accredited?
So there are 2 accreditations left. So the self-study for the second year accreditation was submitted in December. The site visit is in February. Once they have done the site visit, they will spend some time reviewing, and we get the basically determination of our performance for a second year LCME in June. Then there's 1 more left, and that's in the 4th year. So far everything's going great, but there are 2 left, one which we're in the middle of, and then there will be one in the final and 4th year. Yes.
Assemblyman Thompson, summer school. Let's go to that page. So you put down the $6.95 million and to help at-risk students. So my question is, what does the money provide, like a scholarship for those students, or is that to put additional faculty and staff out, or
additional faculty and staff and programs to let students complete their requirements during the summer? And one of the reasons that this is the most important for at-risk students is we often lose students because they need to go into the workforce. They need to start making money. And the longer it takes them to finish their degree, the bigger the chances that they're going to quit. And so if we can condense by offering as much as we can in the summer and come even close to what we offer in a regular semester, that's going to have the biggest impact on the students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged and finding it difficult to stay in school for 4, 5, 6 years.
So, so I don't assume, and many of us that are here don't assume, so is the definition of at-risk students based on socioeconomic, or are there other factors, variables, and barriers that, you know, I'm just using your term, at-risk?
Yes.
At-risk students.
So at-risk students are generally students who did not perform as well in high school, who come in with lower GPAs. But socioeconomic status is part of that. Pell Grant recipients are at-risk students. So it isn't just one factor, but that is a significant one.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Kevin Carmen. I'm the Executive Vice President and Provost at University of Nevada, Reno. President Johnson would have very much liked to be here. He, however, serves on the Board of Directors for the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities, which is the accrediting body for all of our institutions in Nevada and the West, and he had a long scheduled meeting to be there. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. My colleagues are handing around a front and back distillation of what I want to speak with you about today. I want to focus on a couple of areas, primarily our enhancement proposal, which is in advanced manufacturing, and also our proposal for cooperative extension. So our enhancement proposal is in the area of advanced manufacturing. This proposal is in response to Governor Sandoval's emphasis on building, former Governor Sandoval's emphasis on building a foundation of diverse companies that make use of advanced manufacturing in Nevada. It's a follow-on to the $2 million that we received from the 2017 legislature that was allocated for this purpose, and is part of the NSHE system-wide capacity enhancement. Advanced manufacturing involves new ways to manufacture existing products and the manufacture of new products that are possible because of new advanced technologies and materials. It is a family of activities that depend on the use and coordination of information, automation, computation, software, sensors, and networking, and/or makes use of new cutting-edge materials and emerging capabilities enabled by the physical and biological sciences, for example, robotics, nanotechnology, chemistry, and biology. Tesla is a good example of applied manufacturing. This is happening in Nevada now, but there are many other examples. We're proposing an investment over 5 years that will result in the hire of 35 faculty members, 50 graduate research assistants, 5 technical support positions, and 6 administrative assistants. The next component of this proposal would include a total of $9.1 million for the 2020-21 biennium. If funded, we would hire 15 tenure-track faculty, 5 PhD-level research support staff, 6 classified administrative support staff, and 25 graduate research assistants in FY20. An additional 5 tenure-track faculty and 5 graduate research assistants would be hired in the second year of the biennium. In the fall of to get this process started, in the fall of 2018, we launched a campus-wide initiative to determine the optimal faculty positions to add that would complement and build upon existing strengths relative to advanced manufacturing. Through an iterative process of working with deans, an ad hoc committee reviewed and commented on proposals from all colleges and schools, and ultimately we identified the 35 positions that span the disciplines, then further identified the initial 15 positions to fill for FY20. Searches for these 15 positions are already underway. They have been initiated with the goal of being prepared to fill them if the legislature supports this proposal. So we'll be teed up and ready to fill those positions. As you might imagine, most of the positions are in engineering and science or are technical in nature. They involve areas such as robotics, sensor networks, cybersecurity, and novel materials. However, we also plan to add faculty in areas such as immersive media, in journalism, in business operations, and in occupational health, and also including engineering education, both in K-12 and in the universities. So we're really looking at developing a pipeline there. If funded, this initiative would have a truly transformational impact on Nevada's rapidly diversifying economy. As you heard President Miana comment, as you know, both UNLV and UNR were recently designated as R1 Research Very High universities by the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. And this advanced manufacturing research proposal would provide critical resources toward assuring that UNR maintains this classification and its recognition as one of the nation's leading research universities. I'd now like to turn my comments to cooperative extension, a very different sort of topic. Cooperative extension has been in existence since Congress passed the Smith-Lever Act in 1914. Cooperative extension operates nationwide through land-grant universities, and the mission of the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension is to discover, develop, disseminate, preserve, and use knowledge to strengthen the social, economic, and environmental well-being of people in the state of Nevada. Cooperative extension has been serving the citizens of Nevada for over 100 years. And while federal funds are allocated to cooperative extension programs depend significantly on state and county funding. We are requesting legislative support that totals $4.686 million over the 2020-21 biennium, and the request has 2 major components. First, we request funds to increase the number of specialists and educators in extension. The areas of expertise that we would add are in child development and families, food safety, health and nutrition, horticulture, which would be primarily in Clark County, animal science and livestock, and range management, which includes invasive weeds. We also seek additional funding for 4-H. While most people are familiar with 4-H, many don't realize that it is a cooperative extension program. The funding we request would allow 4-H to double the number of children who participate in the program to a little bit over 110,000 children. This funding would strengthen 4-H programs in all 17 counties by increasing staff support for the program. The funding would turn the page. The funding would also be used to add a 4-H statewide events coordinator and a volunteer coordinator as well. I'd like to note that Dr. Ivory Lyles and Dr. Bill Payne are here with us this evening. Dr. Lyles is Director of Cooperative Extension, and Bill Payne is Dean of the College of Agriculture, Biotechnology, and Natural Resources, where Cooperative Extension resides. They would be more than happy to answer questions, I'm sure. And finally, I would like to note that UNR operates other programs that have statewide missions and operations. These include the Nevada Bureau of Mines and Geology, the Nevada Seismology Laboratory, and the Nevada Small Business Development Center. As is true of Cooperative Extension, none of these statewide programs receive funds from higher education formula funding or from student fees and tuition, and we are requesting a total of $2.9 million for the biennia that would allow for expanded services by these important agencies. With that, I conclude my remarks and would be happy to attempt to answer any questions you might have.
Again, Senator Keith Pickard for the record. I'm surprised actually to hear that the Cooperative Extension Cooperative Extension and the other agencies do not receive any general funding. How is it then funded? And
they have their own separate state budgets. So
it's a separate appropriation.
Yes.
Is that
like the medical
reauthorized
school?
every year, or is there an expectation of continuation? How is that normally handled in the?
Basically, it's a continuing budget. The budget is the same as it was the last biennium, unless there's a change made. All of those agencies did absorb substantial budget reductions during the recession, and those reductions have not been restored since the recession because the only way to have funding for them is through legislative appropriation. So, thank you for the question.
Provost Carmen, Al Kramer here, Assemblyman Al Kramer in Carson City, or here in Reno.
Yeah.
My question is somewhat similar to what you just answered. The budget for cooperative extension was significantly reduced during this recession we experienced, and my question is if this is granted, if this supplemental is granted, how will the budget be reflected in comparison to then and now, and the number of the needs that are being represented?
The budget, what we're looking for in the request for cooperative extension, I want to be clear, is not a request to restore a budget that previously existed. We're looking at strategic growth of cooperative extension and where investment should be made to grow and improve cooperative extension and its services to the state of Nevada. I don't actually have off the top of my head what the previous budget was, but I suspect that this would still leave cooperative extension somewhat less than where it was prior to the recession. But again, we're not looking to restore previous budget cuts. We're looking to strategically grow the program to serve the citizens of Nevada.
So thank you. It's a pleasure to have an opportunity to address the group and talk about Nevada State College, my favorite subject. I'm going to talk about a few points about the college, and then we'll try to load a presentation on to talk a little bit more about, in detail, about the education campaign that we're in the middle of. So for those of you, I think most of you are familiar with Nevada State College, but I always like to emphasize who we are. We are intended to be a middle tier of education in the state, similar to the California State University system, where the UCs like UNLV and UNR, who have achieved top-tier research status, are focused on that element of the student experience and that part of the economy and education build-out, primarily focused on graduate programs. And the middle tier of education can provide a very value education, four-year degree for students at a much lower cost. A student that comes to Nevada State College is going to pay over 40% less than going to the universities. That's a particularly great value for students who are pursuing, for example, careers in teaching or nursing or other professions that don't pay necessarily the highest dollar going into those, and you don't want to see students coming out with large student loan debts going into those programs. So it's an enticement for them to go into those programs. We've really hit stride. When we came to Chair Woodhouse, Chair Carlton, and asked for planning money for an education building, we are anticipating at that time about a 4 to 6% growth rate, which have been fairly consistent. Since that time, we've had an increase in students of 30%. So we're now teaching 30% more students based on the budget that was approved in 17, and the space issue is even more significant. We had a 72% increase in freshman enrollment 2 years ago to kind of highlight that level of enrollment growth that's occurred, and we're incredibly diverse. So our entering freshman classes are over 90% diverse, and including over 60% Latinx. We are now a majority Latinx campus is the largest population at the college. So we're very proud of what we've done, what we've accomplished. We have increasing retention rates and graduation rates. And so we're excited about the system's focus on those areas of student success because we built programs that are going to continue that success going into the future. So we're excited about that. I want to talk a little bit more about the education campaign and go through a couple of slides here. It talks a little bit about our student population. We're just under 5,000 students now. We teach with small class sizes. And you can see one of the constants is that we're very heavily women, 76% women. You can see we stayed fairly true to our mission of we have now the largest bachelor's nursing program in the state, and we have a large education program, but we also have growing programs in other areas. One of the things that we're going to continue to do is build out a broad array of degree programs to help meet state needs. And that's part of our proposal to the legislature that's included in part of the budget. I'm going to skip over that slide and talk about the teachers now. So our total focus going into this biennium and starting from last biennium is to much more heavily focus the college on addressing teacher shortage issues across the state. And so that was the desire for the planning money for the education building, was to help expand those programs as well as to meet the growth of the college overall. So that is our plan to grow the School of Education. We also received money in the last legislative session to start a master's in speech pathology. That's the standard credential in the industry. The school district has been accepting bachelor's trained speech pathologists, and so that's what we've been producing here in Southern Nevada, but now we're elevating that to a master's degree. Our proposal is to construct a new 6,000 square foot building. That was the #1 priority of the board going into the session, and we're excited that that appears to be included in the governor's budget going in. That's critically necessary. I still have to come up with a plan over the next 2 years to bridge the gap before that building is constructed because we are out of office space today. And I've got to figure out how to grow a staff to meet 30% more students and figure out how everybody's going to work together in that next 2 years to make it still a quality student experience. It's a challenge, but I'm happy to have that challenge as opposed to another challenge. So we're anticipating that we hope that'll get approved this session and would open in 2021. And I can talk a little bit more about that building, but I think I'll save that for the session and talk a little bit about some of the other programs that we're really planning to build. So in addition to the speech pathology, our enhancement request also talks about a new program in data sciences informatics. That's another critical area. It'll be our first foray into computer science. We again have the opportunity to start to build out into these critical need areas. That is another top 10 job demand area. So there will be a modest enhancement request in the budget for that program. We're also intending to build out early childhood education, which is not currently a full degree program at the college. That'll pair very nicely with the new education building because we'll have teaching space and a child care lab. That is going to be very important for the college as a whole as well, because child care is one of the big issues that we have on the college campus and that we need to address, and that will also help us address that child care need on campus. The other things that are big challenges that we are going to need to address is we need to build a much more robust student experience. So you're going to see much more emphasis on more opportunities for students to stay on campus. The Board of Regents approved a new housing project. That will be our first residential based facility on campus. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to continue to build out over the next 2 years. They won't be legislative requests. They'll be things that we need to build out to create a much better student experience. And the last thing I want to mention is that we're very intent on being a good statewide partner. And so our intent is to work with all the institutions, but particularly to build more programs across the state in the area, particularly of education and healthcare. So we just graduated our 100th student from Western Nevada College in education, and we're going to continue to kind of grow those programs because we want to be a response statewide to critical needs, not just here in Southern Nevada where our home is. So I think I'll stop there and take any questions that you may have. Good, thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to the legislative priorities for CSN. My name is Federico Zaragoza, and I am the new president for the College of Southern Nevada. First and foremost, I bring you greetings from the over 35,000 students that attend one of our 3 CSN community college campuses. As you know, CSN has the largest higher education enrollment in the state of Nevada, bar none. If I could, I'd like to kind of separate my presentation in 2 parts. One, tell you a little bit about CSN, and then speak to, obviously, the legislative priorities. At CSN, we are a community college, and the operative term is community. That means that our students are from the community and they stay in the community. 95% of our graduates will, in fact, practice their trades and professions in the community of Southern Nevada. Half of our students come to CSN with the intent to transfer to a university. At CSN, our open door policy requires us to provide remediation to about 80% of those incoming first-time in college students. So I want to emphasize that for many of the students that go on to universities, the community college is the segue by which they become college ready and prepare themselves for the rigors of the academic university work. Annually, almost 4,000 students become college ready at CSN and successfully transfer to universities. Last year, our students transferred having completed an average of 50 plus credits, almost the equivalent of 2 college years of work. So the 2+2 models is very alive and well in the CSN community. The important thing is that many of these students will do better at the university than native students. So they are prepared, they are now in a trajectory to be successful. The other half of our students come to get degrees, certificates to work. These are workforce students that have an imminent need to procure employment. And for many of these students, CSN is the pathway to the middle class. And I just want to kind of cite very quickly the types of opportunities that are available at CSN. So obviously, we're very much aligned to the economic development and the economic sectors of this community. Our tourism, hospitality, and culinary arts programs are thriving in terms of capacity and also in terms of placement and student demand. We have very aggressive programs in the health careers fields. And again, all our programs are capped in terms of capacity with waiting lists, with 90 to 100% placement rates every year. So not only are students succeeding, they're addressing the needs of this local community. We have programs in information technology. We have programs in network administration. When you look at kind of the demand and emerging local communities, CSN is that segue for many of the local residents. In addition to that, we have vocational and trade programs. And these are middle skill occupations that are necessary to keep this community vibrant. This includes programs in areas like welding, manufacturing, logistics, construction, HVAC, and the list goes on. And in all of these areas, we have very strong partnerships with both our industry and our labor communities. Having said that, as a segue, I'd like to talk very quickly about our priorities for the upcoming session. And I'll start with the health area. And also want to acknowledge that this is a partnership program with CSN and also with BART and the NSHE operation. So you'll note that the first bullet speaks about the demand for nurses, and it's just important to note that approximately at any given time, there are 2,000 jobs in this community that go unfilled. And the consequences of that are pretty significant, not only in terms of gaps, but the quality of the healthcare. And I want to emphasize that in the area of economic development, when companies look at where they're going to locate, they look at the workforce, but they look at the quality of life, and the healthcare system is one of those very important areas. In part, this is one of the reasons that this project was ranked the #1 project by the Southern Nevada Forum. Again, for workforce, our ability to address the occupational needs, but also to enhance our competitiveness in the economic development area, this project will allow us to do just that. The project will allow us to almost double the capacity for our nursing graduates, and it also provides a STEM pathway. It's health and science. And in the science area, we're going to have biology, we're going to have the science labs and math. many of these students that are going to come to this programs will continue on to university with that core curriculum having been completed in these key areas. So it's not only the segue for the health profession, it's also for the STEAM capacity throughout the system. Again, the facilities will reflect the kind of occupations that the type of structure that we need to support these occupations. The request before you is for $70 million. That's the investment. There is a $6 million match that CSN is currently in the midst of working on. We also have, as I said earlier, 35,000 students, and that pretty much gets close to the capacity of the CSN delivery system. And so we're looking now at a request to begin planning for a fourth campus. And this fourth campus would also allow us to serve an area of the city that is underserved. That's the northwest sector. And we already have the initial investment of 14 acres that became available by the Bureau of Land Management in 2018. So we now are in a position to begin to expand the delivery system and to be more responsive, but we will need the investment to begin the planning for that site. Very quickly, we simply want to, again, affirm our support for a prison education program that has become very successful. The current prison education program allows us to serve 50 men and 50 women that are in release status and allows them to create a pathway into CSN and into employment. So they're becoming college ready, they're becoming college connected as part of that transition. We, again, are requesting continuation of this program, which is deemed successful at this point by every measure. And finally, I just want to commend and support the NSHE initiative for the Nevada Promise, which has really helped CSN grow. If you look at the 35,000 plus students that we have, the vast majority of the growth occurred because of the Nevada Promise Scholarship. So this is very important for our programs. What's more important is that we see almost twice as many students in the pipeline now. So continuation of this program will continue again to respond to community need and also to keep CSN in a growth mode. And that constitutes my presentation if there's any questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, President Zaragoza, you mentioned that there was, in some areas at the college, was a waiting list, and yet at the end of the program there were job placements, and I was led to believe it was like 100% job placement. I know I got a briefing for CSN 2 years ago, and I know you've been in a job for a little less than a year. And I tell you, any program that's got a waiting list of people to get into it and 100% placement coming out, you got to call it a success no matter what. But I don't remember you saying exactly what fields those were in, if there were more than one, and whether that was the area that our new building is for.
Yeah, very specifically the nursing group, and that is the target occupation for the new building.
97% placement. 97%.
Okay, Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson. I have a question about the prison education program. I want to thank you for it, but my question is, are we going a step further where we're looking at the kids of the prisoners so we can then hopefully stop the cycle so those kids don't offend? Not saying, I mean, but there's some likelihood there. So are we doing any connection that direction?
Assemblyman, the program primarily is a bridge program, as I mentioned earlier. However, we do connect with the community community-based organizations that are in fact looking at some of the prevention components. So it's part of an overall community effort, if you will, to make the transition more effective. And obviously the community has already prioritized, it continues to prioritize prevention. So we're working on both sides of it, but this particular program is specifically for the early release or the release of population to be able to get themselves college ready and have accumulated some credits to be able to transfer to CSN.
Okay, so let me just, okay. So I'm saying like that person that's in prison, are we, the case managers or whomever, working with the kids of the prisoner to, because most of them might be of age or at least on the pathway to go to like CSN, Nevada State College, UNLV or wherever, are we looking, are there something incorporated in these dollars to help on that end? Because again, we want to stop that cycle.
Yeah. Assemblyman, my understanding is the majority of the resources for this program are for the tuition and for the direct instructional costs, and that there isn't additional funding for the family members. So it is limited at this point to the prisoner themselves.
Thank you.
And Assemblyman, if I could jump in real quick, Michael Flores, Chief of Staff. You know, there have been conversations in the past with Juvenile Justice and Jack Martin to expand this type of programming to the youth offenders at Spring Mountain Youth Camp. And then with this specific program, Hope for Prisoners, which I think many of you are familiar with, once they're released, they do comprehensive case management with that individual and the family. So, you know, I think that's something that can be explored in the future. But as of right now, I think the goal of the program was to make sure that, you know, once they got out, they had the tools to re-enter our community and have the tools to re-enter into a job or some sort of employment, and then the follow with Hope for Prisoners to make sure that they had whatever case management and support they needed once released.
If we can, maybe we can go up north to Dr. Solis, followed by Dr.
Thank you.
Hilgerson, and then followed by Tracy Bowers, and then we'll end with Dr. Helens from GBC.
Thank you, Chancellor, Senators, members of the Assembly. Vince Solis for the record, President of WNC. I have a few comments related to our campus and what some of our priorities are going to be moving forward in the next legislative session. I do want to thank you for taking time to visit with us today and learn more about our institutions, and in our case, WNC. And you have an open invite to visit our campus as you are here in Carson, the legislative session. Just to give you a quick overview, for those of you that may not be familiar with WNC, we serve over 4,600 students per year. We also do this in a very large geographic area, serving our rural communities of about 8,000 square miles. We offer courses in Fernley, Fallon, in Douglas, and of course in Carson City. We also offer a wide array of online courses for the other communities so that access to education is available to them. 64% of our students are part-time and 36% are full-time. We have about a 57% breakdown of our female students on campus, and the rest are male, very similar demographics to the rest of the institutions in NSHE. Prior to getting into some of the items that are important to us in the next legislative session, one of the things I would like to share with you that we're very proud of at WNC, we have a very high graduation rate for our full-time students at about 28%. And you'll hear a little bit more about some of the initiatives we have in student success, going off of some of the comments that the Chancellor made about how important this is to NSHE institutions. Some of the programs that you'll hear about are our Latino cohort, for example, as we try to close the gap with some of those populations. Those populations that we're serving in our groups right now have a 52% graduation rate, which is extremely high, and you'll hear about some of our requests to continue to work with some of these groups. You'll also hear about our dual enrollment or jumpstart initiatives, which have, WNC has been a leader in these areas for some time now, where we have a 94% course completion rate, and we've had more than 200 students over the last 3 years graduate from that program while they are still in high school, getting a degree from WNC before they actually complete their courses in the high school. We've also issued over the last 3 years a little more than 1,100 industry skill certificates, putting people into the workforce. We're also very proud that 66% of our students at WNC who do get a degree from us end up moving to a four-year institution within 1 year. We talked a little bit about our prison education program. I'm happy to report that 100% of the students that were involved with our prison education program in our spring semester passed 100% of their courses with a C- or better. So that's an initiative that's been working with us. So this is a precursor and a segue into the things that are important to WNC as it relates to the next legislative session. You'll find that we have three broad areas that are important to us that we are looking for in terms of the enhancements for the capacity funding. One of them entails talking about this initiative that we have with our dual enrollment. We would like to expand those offerings to more students. We know that this is an area where our students are extremely successful at. As I mentioned, for our students on campus, we may have a graduation rate of, or a success rate of about 28%, but for those students that are taking college level courses while they're in high school, they have a 90% plus graduation and success rate. So we want to continue to expand that program. We have a $1.2 million enhancement request for these areas, which would include primarily more teaching positions along with more adjunct positions to continue teaching in these areas, and then some critical components in terms of how we support these students while they are in this process with some administrative positions to help with our advising and working directly with the K through 12 program. So that's a big part of the request there. In that area, we also have our rural nursing cohort, which is really doing well in Fallon. We have 16 students in that program right now. It is supported by the community, and it was brought back by high demand because of the need that was in that area. And then when we also talked about how we serve our underrepresented students, right now 28% of our full-time students are Hispanic, and 23% of our students overall as our head count are Hispanic, and we're quickly becoming a Hispanic serving or an emerging Hispanic serving institution at WNC. So we want to continue to provide services that allow us to close the gap with those individuals and continue to work with them in ways that are helpful to them in terms of their success and meeting their educational goals. We also have a request in there for our continued enhancements in summer school. As the Chancellor mentioned, we believe strongly that having students access summer school and year-round education with a varied type of academic calendars will help them be successful in these areas. So we want to have the funding that is needed for our faculty and our adjunct during this critical time of the year where students can take more classes that they need to complete in a shorter time frame. And then part of the performance pool enhancement also goes to the initiatives that were mentioned earlier that relate to the things that we are doing well that translate to student success, to the students meeting their educational goals, and that is a request for $680,000, and most of that goes to funding for staffing, faculty to teach the classes. And these are the broad areas that we have at WNC. It gives you a little bit of an overview where our needs are and some of the things that we're doing to help continue to educate Nevadans, and I'm available for any questions that you may have for WNC. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Karen Hilgerstam, president of TMCC. 2019 is going to be a great year for TMCC. TMCC serves approximately 11,000 credit students and 10,000 non-credit students a year. Many of those are on the workforce non-credit side of the house. We are a Hispanic serving institution, and the last couple of years we've been focused on innovative thinking, puzzling over how to do better with success. We're already at 31% graduation rates. We've already incorporated routine changes such as reverse transfer, flexible certificates, and technical programs, a massive tutoring effort that includes tutors embedded in some courses, boot camps related to remedial math, more of significant expansion of dual enrollment, and also intrusive advising outreach, the Starfish early alert system, a digital tool to help faculty keep students on track. According to a WICHE analysis, Nevada's public higher education institutions, including TMCC, have made remarkable improvements with funding levels that spiked in 2009, followed by a precipitous decline, and only recently have come close to adequate. In Nevada, that same WICHE analysis revealed that the state appropriation of $5,707 per student is less than the United States average for two-year colleges, which is at $7,189 per full-time student. The difference is about $1,500, right? Or $1,482. So what will the funding of the NSHE budget request mean for TMCC? First, we do need to take the supplemental budget request very seriously. Faculty salaries need to be improved, especially as we look at the rising costs of housing in the Reno-Sparks community. Having competitive faculty salaries is an investment that has positive returns when it comes to faculty excellence. Secondly, funding for summer students is imperative and would go a long way to maintain courses designed to meet industry needs. We anticipate $900,000 annually starting in the second year of the biennium, and this will go a long way to sustain our workforce development efforts. Perhaps what is most important to note is that community college students rely on summer term to have a schedule that includes 12 credits fall, 12 credits spring, and 6 in the summer. This allows our non-traditional students to keep their jobs and spend more time with their families throughout the year. The continuity of instruction can help community college students stay on course and complete. Currently, we're very cautious about summer schedule because state funding is not attached to the majority of courses offered. So if we're not careful, we operate at a significant loss. My first summer here is a great example of this. Summer of 2016, we began training for Tesla and Panasonic in earnest. And what is not well understood is that we did so at a revenue loss to the college. But we did so because our industry partners were clamoring for employees in order to drive out product, literally. Perhaps community colleges need to be built into tax abatement planning for budding industry partners who have come to rely heavily upon our services. Fortunately, TMCC is a comprehensive college. Frankly, had it not been for very popular transfer programs, the majority of our students are still headed to UNR or UNLV and transferring. Programs like social sciences, criminal justice, other transfer preparation courses. If it weren't for those large class sizes, we would not be able to afford the relatively expensive workforce and health career programs. This is a delicate budget balance. And I fear we are dangerously close to neglecting some programs due to the high cost of others. Moreover, the NSHE budget request, if funded, also expands performance pool dollars by $560,000 in year 2, 2021 for TMCC, and these dollars allow TMCC to effectively maintain the incremental rises to the general cost of operations. Second, the enhancement adjustment to the base is crucial to sustain work in progress. For TMCC, the capacity building base adjustment of $2.25 million in 2021 is essential to maintaining industry prosperity. Prosperity made possible in part because of TMCC students who successfully complete their workforce certificate or degree. They enter the workforce ready, prepared, and skilled. Moreover, the analysts who study labor market trends will agree that for every engineer we produce in the state of Nevada, and thank you UNR and UNLV for producing engineers, we need them more than ever in our lifetimes. But for each engineer, there's probably 7 or 8 technicians, 2-year trained people who support the work. They operate those assembly lines, they operate those robotics, or they maintain them and troubleshoot when they break down. Thankfully, the NSHE budget request also includes a $5 million planning request in partnership with the Desert Research Institute for Shared Science Solution and Research Experience Center. I look forward to discussing this in detail during the session, but suffice it to say for now that the trail to capital projects for Nevada's community colleges is difficult to find, hard to navigate. I worry that if our state is not proactive, that Nevada's community colleges will fall into an embarrassing state of decay, building blight that could have been avoided with proactive planning. But I'm thankful that this legislature, to date, has shown really good judgment on these projects. Nevada is in a new era, and this regional economy in particular is home to businesses rooted in renewable energies, data analytics, cutting-edge changes to computing, and the emergence of a creative new class, a class that requires skilled talent. With that, the new Nevada needs us, and we need the state to step up and appropriately fund the work. Thank you. Any questions?
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Bauer, and I'm the Director of External Affairs at the Desert Research Institute. I'm here today on behalf of President Kristen Averett. She sends her regrets that she wasn't able to be here today. But I'm happy to share with you a little bit about DRI and our legislative priorities. I don't have a PowerPoint, but we do have a handout that's coming out. There's a one sheet inside of that that will help to describe some of our legislative priorities. I'm excited to tell a little bit about DRI and what we anticipate will happen during 2019. It marks an important milestone for DRI as we celebrate our 60th anniversary. When we were established in March of 1959, our mandate was to promote the general welfare of the state of Nevada and its citizens through the development of education and scientific research. This is one thing about DRI that has not changed in the last 60 years, our focus on connecting science and society. The majority of our work is applied science, identifying how science and research can address critical challenges that our society is facing. Another thing that has not changed in 60 years is our focus on environmental science and technology. Our core capabilities are understanding water, earth, air, and ecosystems. A few things have changed, though, over 60 years, including how we conduct our work. Environmental science, even a decade ago, was very different than the work that we do today. We use advanced autonomous systems, drones, high-tech sensors to observe and understand our environment. We use data analytics, high-performance computing, and machine learning to process the data available about the environment so that we can glean greater insights and better predict things like drought and wildfires. And the reach and importance of environmental sciences is so broad that we have more than 80 PhDs working in 40 different scientific fields, all here in Nevada. We have experts in public health who are addressing connections between genomics and environmental exposure to improve public health. And we have cybersecurity experts because of the secure work that we do for the Departments of Energy, Defense, and the U.S. military. The other thing that has changed is that DRI has evolved into a research powerhouse. According to the National Science Foundation in fiscal year 17, among all the academic institutions reporting research expenditures in atmospheric and earth sciences, DRI ranked number 8 out of 387. To put that in context, MIT ranked 21st and Davis as 65th. Considering our reputation, I would argue that DRI is a good investment for the state of Nevada. As a soft money institution, the majority of our funding comes from outside of the state with the research grants and proposals. We receive roughly $7.8 million in funding for our operations through the state, which covers roughly 16% of our operating expenses. Our researchers brought in about $33.5 million in the last fiscal year. And again, since our state investment was about $7.8 million, that means for every dollar that the state provides, we bring in $4 from outside of the state as an investment here in Nevada. Again, making DRI an excellent investment. Our requests in the NSHE budget are focused on bolstering the DRI enterprise. There are a few challenges that we face as a soft money institution. Our research faculty are not tenured. Again, their salaries are paid by the research grants that they bring into DRI. And the overhead for that work is about 65%. So for every $100 that DRI brings in to support direct science, we need an additional $65 in investment to cover the cost of doing business and keeping DRI open and operational. If we're forced to use that $65 added on to each research grant to keep the lights on, it's harder for us to invest in our people. This gets to our second problem, which is ensuring that we remain one of the top environmental research organizations in the United States. We have a cadre of senior scientists who are moving rapidly toward retirement, and we need to make sure that there is a continuum of mid and early career scientists behind them and a pipeline of students behind them. We also need to make sure that these scientists have what they need to succeed. DRI attracts great minds in its early years by enticing them to come to Nevada and build something. We need to do that again with modern equipment and early career scientists who are aiming to solve big problems with even bigger ideas. Chancellor Riley touched on some of the NSHE budget requests, and our capacity building and supplemental requests are included in his presentation. I'd like to go through briefly what some of those are, and those are included again on that one sheet that you have in front of you. Some of our funding would include $500,000 over the biennium for our Early Career Scientist Development Fund. This would allow us to develop scientists early on in their career. Again, our scientists bring in their own research dollars, but if you're a scientist just out of graduate school or just with your PhD, you don't always have a research proposal when you're hired. This would allow us to allow those scientists to develop some of those proposals to help us to teach them how to develop those research proposals, and again, help them to be successful earlier in their career so they will stay here in Nevada. Some additional funding would allow us to invest $1 million in our laboratories. That would cover investments in equipment for DRI laboratories both in Northern Nevada and Southern Nevada. This is not about purchasing six-figure highly specialized equipment, but mid-level equipment in the thousands to tens of $1,000s range that is difficult to have funded through some of these research grants, but are required for basic lab research. We have a couple of supplemental requests that are on that sheet as well. $900,000 over the biennium that would attract graduate students to DRI while they pursue their PhDs. And this is a partnership that we're very proud of with UNLV and UNR. This will allow us to attract scientists as they're pursuing their PhD program. They can actually do work with our research scientists at DRI while they're pursuing their PhDs at UNLV and UNR. And this is modeled after their prestigious National Science Foundation Graduate Fellowship Program. And it is similar to other programs that exist in Oregon, Arizona, Georgia, and Ohio. We really view this as Nevada's premier graduate scientist recruitment aid, as it will attract elite students from across the country, as well as scientists from here within the state of Nevada, and keep them here in Nevada. Finally, the last request that is on our list is a $1.8 million request for the Nevada Cloud Seeding Program. For more than 30 years, DRI's atmospheric science researchers have operated the Nevada State Cloud Seeding Program, which is focused on bringing additional precipitation during the winter across the mountainous regions of the state. This request builds on the fiscal year 18 and 19 funding that was requested by Governor Sandoval. These funds will support cloud seeding research and operation equipment upgrades, faculty and student salaries, as well as manned aircraft seeding precipitation in the Walker and Carson basins. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, Senator.
I have one. Thank you. Again, Senator Keith Pickard for the record. I just want to get some clarity on your statement that with a 65% overhead rate, for every $100 raised, you have to find an additional 65. So is that because the grants are specific and focused on what you can spend the money on, and it does not include the overhead that then you have to go raise additional money for?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson, not for the record. No, just kidding. He thinks he's in session. You haven't been sworn in yet, brother. Okay, all right. I'm just wondering, is there, okay, I'm looking at your graduate fellowship program. And so, and I see that on page 27, you promote STEM, and we appreciate that. Do you have anything like some type of camp, maybe middle school, high school, that, you know, is sort of like a graduate fellowship program? And then the second part, it seems like it would be a natural partnership for you all to do some work with Cooperative Extension, right? I guess that's my question.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me start with your first question,
Okay.
which is the
All right.
kind of elementary school or high school STEM education. So DRI does have a STEM outreach program called Science Alive, and we provide green box kits where we actually provide science curriculum to teachers, and those include lessons from pre-K all the way through high school. I think over the last fiscal year, we have reached out to about 23,000 students, both in Northern Nevada, Southern Nevada, rural and urban areas as well. We think it's really important to invest in students when they're young. We want to spark that interest. And again, we're looking at them as future employees, future students at UNR, UNLV, and Nevada State College. And so we'd like to spark that interest early on. So that is another program that we offer at DRI. I'm not sure about the partnerships with the Nevada Cooperative Extension, whether that's occurred in the past, but we could certainly, I can certainly look into that and let you know.
And then if we can just go a step further on your graduate fellowship program, what does your outreach look like? And so that's where I'm kind of like the continuum, like you're having the green box program, and then, you know, so how are you focused on your and intentional on some of your targeting outreach?
So I'm going to give you a partial answer, and I can do a little bit more investigating as to
Okay.
how that outreach occurs. But I know in a lot of cases, if you're a graduate student and you're interested, say, in working in hydrological science, You might be familiar with one of the PhD researchers at DRI and then reach out and ask if that researcher has a project where they might be looking for a graduate student. And then that student will come to work at DRI and then pursue their PhD at the same time. My understanding is that is often the case, is that these are students who are looking for the next step in their education and career. And so oftentimes they'll pursue projects that they're interested in. So if we have a researcher who's doing a study on drought and there's a student who's interested in pursuing that as a career in terms of that type of research, that they'll reach out to the researchers directly. We also we were just most recently at the American Geophysical Union, which is a big science convention that was held in Washington, D.C. There were about 20,000 scientists from across the country who attended that, a number of graduate students. So we use those opportunities as well to try to reach out to early career scientists to get them interested and engaged. And then we also look here at home. I think it's important for us. We have a number of our scientists who were students here in Nevada, born and raised here in Nevada, went to UNLV or UNR, and then have made DRI their career home. And so we look for opportunities to do that as well. So we want the best and brightest, and it's even better when they're from here within the state. We look at that as a wonderful opportunity. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Dr. Helens.
Hello, this is Joyce Helens at Great Basin College. I'm the last president to present, and out here in ranching country, that's called being a drag rider. And that means you ride behind the herd and keep it moving. So I'll try and keep it moving with a short presentation. And just to inform you, and some of you already know, Great Basin College serves rural Nevada. That's 86,000 square miles, 10 counties, and 2 time zones. We have 4 branch campuses, Ely, Winnemucca, Battle Mountain, and Pahrump, and 19 centers, satellite centers, in those 10 counties. We serve approximately 3,500 students, 60% are female, and about 43% of our students are over 25. They're working adults. You might be surprised to find out that 61% of Great Basin students are completely online. We offer 35 completely online programs, and we are a leader in the Nevada system of higher education in online education, offering 15 baccalaureate programs, also some fully online. We're a Carnegie classified organization called dual mission, which means we have both a 2- and 4-year mission. We were the first to offer a distance nursing cohort in Winnemucca, and we still maintained a 5-year 100% pass rate on the national exams. But we also offer unique technical programs in collaboration with our industries to prepare students for careers immediately after graduation. We have industrial millwright technology, instrumentation, and the only land surveying and geomatics baccalaureate completely online in the nation. We're also the first in the nation to offer something called boot camp credit, which is 15 credits for the completion of basic military service for service members and veterans. These credits then attach to a variety of credential-based degree programs. Currently, our enrollments are up, head count about 14%. And of those students who are coming, increasing numbers, it's about 18% more credits that they're taking. Now, we need to continue catching up with funding like everyone else, particularly that funding that was lost during the recession over that decade, where we lost about 1/3 of our workforce. We battle aging facilities, particularly in technical area. And in those slides presented by the system office, you see in capital improvement projects, we have a modest proposal for the renovation of a welding lab, which we've known we really needed since 2009. Also as important is the enhancement request for summer school funding, because it would fund some technical areas, and industry doesn't take the summer off, and we don't want to either. Now, we know we can't grow out of being rural, nor do we want to. But we do want to look for ways that grow how we can have access to our rural communities to higher education. In Winnemucca, for example, because of the health care needs, the Pennington's Grant Foundation gave us $5 million, and the community matched $2 million, so we're able to build a health sciences building to facilitate the increase in those different areas. particularly nursing and radiology. But I would say connectivity is really the key for us in rural Nevada. And if we can't rely on a stable internet, everything else that we do won't make any difference. So we appreciate the state's efforts in taking a look at that statewide. We also know that our continued collaboration with our industry partners is essential, not just to our quality of life here in rural Nevada, but I think it also affects all of Nevada's bottom line. And finally, I think our success at Great Basin College is based in listening to our rural communities. But also it has to be to effectively communicate that to our elected officials, many of you sitting there today. And I look forward to continuing that discussion. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
There we go. I have one
question,
and that is, what's that? Oh, Keith Pickard, and I won't say for the record. As to your online programs, are they fully accredited? Do they have the same weight in the marketplace that the in-person courses have throughout the NSHE system?
Absolutely. The answer is yes, unequivocally.
And my question is along the same line. This is Al Kramer here in Reno, for the record. I wonder just how this internet, this brand new internet we've had for 20 years almost, how it's going to affect the way higher education delivers degrees in the future. And I guess not a question for you particularly, but for the NSHE board, is how what changes are going to be made and how that will affect the need for buildings and the need for staff. And I just see big changes coming, and I'm just wondering how we're planning for that. Thank you.
This is Tom Riley, Chancellor. I can start, and then I'll open up to the chair, the vice chair, or any of the other regents. Wonderful question. I mean, I think it's suffice to say is that as a system, we are a bit behind on the delivery of online education. One of the encouraging aspects of our partnership with MGM is our commitment to increase our presence and the number of online degrees that we have. GBC is kind of the leader right now in online education, but since that partnership has begun, UNLV is committed to 5 additional online bachelor degrees. The future in many states is also a hybrid, is that many students who go on there take classes in person, but in order to supplement and get out in a timely manner, they take some online. So having that ability to offer classes online, in person, in blocks of time, on site. I mean, one of the dialogues that we're having with our the Chancellor's Workforce Advisory Committee is how we offer classes and the content. And that conversation we're having with industry is invaluable. So part of that is how we deliver our classes. And if we're going to remain competitive, if we're going to be responsive in educating, we have to have a full array. You know, the traditional model is here. It will be here. It's an important way we deliver service, our education. But we have to be able to offer different modalities, if you will, including online. But I'll leave it to any additional comments from any of the other regents. With that, we're wrapping up there too. We just have a couple more brief presentations, and we'll end by introducing our legislative team. But, you know, in the system of higher education, we are committed to shared governance with our students and with our faculty. And we consult with them, we receive guidance from them, and we listen to them. Because the students and our faculty are who we are and how we move together as a system. And to that end there too, we wanted to have our chair of our student leaders, Chris Royce, and the elected chair of our Senate faculty, Dr. Unger, say a few words. So Chris, if you want to start, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. For the record, Christopher Royce. I'm the chair of the Nevada Student Alliance, and I'm also the student body president at UNLV. So you saw in today's presentations that there are a lot of discussions about maintaining our ability to commit our institutional missions to our community. So When you look around, whether it's at UNR or UNLV or WNC or CSN or any of these institutions, there is a unifying theme of commitment to our community. These are proposals that have been an inclusive process. If you go to any Board of Regents meetings, you will see that the student leadership of every institution has a seat at the table. They have a microphone in front of them. They are acknowledged by the regents, they are acknowledged by the chancellor, and they are a part of the discussion. Recently, we've been working on proposals for ensuring that students can predict their tuition in the future so that they have better access to education. But when you look at the NSHE budget that the Chancellor's office has submitted to former Governor Brian Sandoval's office, there's a lot of items in there that actually address what students have directly had concerns about. One of those things being summer school funding. When you look at that proposal, for example, myself as a student, when I went to take a 4-credit biology class in the summer, which is often a class that is a part of many nursing degrees as well, and not engineering, but other STEM degrees, it was going to cost me $1,200 to take that because there was no state funding for those programs. And so if we're going to hold our commitment as the Nevada System of Higher Education to ensuring that students graduate on time, and knowing that 15 credits a semester is something that needs to be taken in order for students to successfully graduate in 4 years, if we're not providing the resources for them to be able to be successful and be able to take classes on their time, when we have so many students from different socioeconomic backgrounds and different lifestyles growing up, we have many students who have to work 2 jobs outside of school. We have so many students who are non-traditional. We have undocumented students who we have a commitment to. And so we need to make sure that we provide them those resources at the end of the day to make sure that they are the determinant factor in whether or not they are successful. Just recently we had, at UNLV, we actually had our president of our Rebel Veterans Association named as the Student Veteran of the Year by the Student Veteran Association of America. And so when we look at what kind of diverse populations we serve here in the Nevada System of Higher Education, we're not just looking at people's socioeconomic background or just their racial or ethnic identities, but also the backgrounds from which they come. There are so many students who are non-traditional, who have families who come from out of the country, out of the state, who served in the military. And so we need to hold true to that commitment. And we need to make sure that now is the time that we make the decision to invest in education and stop looking at it through a lens of cost analysis, and more so of how we are going to invest for the future of our state. So with that being said, I, on behalf of 105,000 students in the Nevada System of Higher Education, do attest that these processes have been very transparent. They've been very inclusive of the student leadership of each institution. And there is a commitment among all of us to make sure that we do our best for those students that we represent. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I suppose I could take those, but I don't know if that's, yeah.
Hit it again. There we go. I'm Doug Unger, Chair of the UNLV Faculty Senate and Chair of the Council of Senate Chairs for the Nevada System of Higher Education. And thanks for taking the time to be here for this important session. It's really important to us that you're here. And thanks especially to Chancellor Riley, Chair Page, and Vice Chair Geddes for allowing and inviting student representatives and faculty representatives to be here. That reinforces their commitment to faculty governance, which is vital for the engagement of faculty and students to achieve our common goals. This is a wonderful time of year, the beginning of a new semester. I always look forward in a few days to walking out across our campus and absorbing the energy in our students' voices as they resound across the lawn and between the buildings with such buoyant echoes, to observing the intensity of faculty and students in classrooms exploring what's new, because every single class, even after teaching for 36 years, is new because it's so new to the students every time. And my favorite thing to observe, to search for a book in the stacks of the library as ever, in awe at all that knowledge arranged in such perfect and necessary order. What we've built at our universities, colleges, and institutes is a deeply satisfying achievement that should make our state proud. Our faculty advocacy goals are to keep sustaining and building our beautiful institutions into the future. Recently announced R1 Research highest rankings for our flagship universities will empower this advocacy. Achieving this was a team effort, but most credit should be given to the faculty and professionals throughout our system, to our teachers, researchers, and advisors, year after year asking more of ourselves and delivering. We promise to continue to do this in every classroom, in every lab and office, every day. We're going to face challenges, and I think this budget that you're being presented with is actually very responsive to the challenges we face. How to adapt to the changing nature and roles of education in the 21st century, which is undergoing revolutionary transformations in the way knowledge is shared, akin only to the effects of the invention of the printing press 5 centuries ago. Devising new strategies to respond to ever-diminishing resources provided by the federal government and the private sector to fuel research and activities so crucial to the advancements on which the very survival of our society may depend, and how best to negotiate an economy in which the costs of education, that so often misused word, will continue to increase, combined with the most pressing need, no less than a national emergency, to decrease financial burdens on students, committed as we are to maximum access to economic opportunity. About the word cost, it's the wrong word. Despite the rhetoric of a market economy that says so, education is not a business. Students are far more than customers. They're the social force on which our future depends. We must shift perceptions from the often repellent language of cost by using the more rewarding language of investment, because that's what funding higher education is, even in business terms. According to a classic report by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, each dollar invested in a college student pays back more than sevenfold. $7.46 is the figure they came up with. Still, I prefer to express this in the language of humane letters. Investment in higher education measures our faith in the aspirations and talents of our students, and in both their and our futures. Quality higher education relies on retaining high-quality faculty. Nevada faculty support all of the NSHE budget priorities. We're on the same team, most especially the line items for student success, new schools and programs, and infrastructure to sustain growth. But because of our previous governor's prescriptive budget directions, faculty salaries to address serious issues of compression and to remedy salaries that have dropped 15% above the national average 10 years ago to 15% below it now could only be added as a supplement to the NSHE requests. Correcting deficient salaries was endorsed by the Board of Regents in a letter to the governor last August 24th. Last July, the final report of the AB 202 interim committee of our legislature recommended as its top priority establishing an in-rank system of raises for faculty and funding them, now contained in BDR 382, which we hope you'll bring to a successful vote. Faculty representatives met with candidate for governor and later with the governor-elect's transition team, and we plan to meet with new Governor Sisolak in a few days to keep delivering our message that Nevada faculty are now at a breaking point. Our schools are losing high-quality researchers, teachers, and professionals, or they're not able to hire the best because of low salaries. Faculty have had only one merit raise in the last 10 years, and COLA raises have not kept up with inflation. This shortfall has affected retention, especially of new diverse faculty, which were very successful at hiring, but not very successful at retaining, largely because of salary issues. This shortfall, again, among all Nevada state employees is pretty dire. Educators and professionals in higher education are now the only state workers who have no process for regular pay raises. Academic faculty have only 2 promotion steps built into the career path, 6 years apart. That means for a lifetime, 2 chances at a promotion, unless they leave or plan to leave. Most administrative faculty don't even have these 2 steps, and many make lateral moves that shift away from their best skills to earn a raise. I don't know of any other state's higher education system that's so biased and discriminatory against faculty. What you'll see during the upcoming session are educators asking you, if not now, when our state is relatively prosperous, then when? When will we ever see any change in these diminishing salaries and eroding health benefits? And why should the best and brightest stay here if this doesn't change? We're asking that the supplemental request to remedy salary compression be moved into the main body of the NSHE budget. This spring, we will be laser focused on this issue, which, along with support for BDR 382, is the most important step Nevada legislators can take to assure our faculty remain engaged and that our most accomplished stay here to sustain our R1 highest research mission. Let's not let this long worked for achievement be left to languish and slip because of low faculty pay, lest our beautiful universities, colleges, and institutes, as they are now and promise to become, erode and fade to little more than a memory or a legend. We hope you'll join with us in this advocacy. Please know that we can be there for you too. We can learn to see the many challenges our state faces with your vision. We can bring ideas and changes you wish to effect to our representative bodies so we can support what you believe is most important. Faculty governance is all about collaborating to achieve our mission. Our system, administrations, faculties, and students coming together as one to deliver learning, research, and skills at the highest levels, and so meet the scientific, workplace, and cultural needs of our state. It's an exciting time for Nevada. We're looking forward to this new year, to working all together and with all of you to achieve our common goals. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll be wrapping up. What I wanted to do is I made the statement at the beginning, myself as well as Chairman Page and Vice Chair or Geddes are available anytime. Our cell phone numbers, call us directly if there's any issues. However, our presidents are a face. They're the ones that know passionately about their institutions. We want them out there. But we also have a legislative team to back up and to be there on the daily basis. And I just want to take a moment to introduce our team and know that they are also available, not to circumvent any conversation you want directly with myself or any of the presidents. Dr. Kyle Doppy will be the point person we have at the legislature. He'll be on the ground. He'll be there every day of the session. Michael Flores, my chief of staff, will be coordinating the effort, the glue that kind of hold everybody together within the institution. Joy Holliday will be joining us recently from the Chamber of Commerce. She's here with us too as part of the legislative team that we have at NSHE. And if I can, either Kyle or Michael, could you just introduce our legislative representatives from each of our institutions?
I'd actually like them to come up real quickly so we can put a face to it. So Luis, if you want to come up, and Anthony, and then up north, come up as well and let them introduce themselves.
Good evening, everybody. Luis Valera with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I know most of you. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Anthony Ruiz with Nevada State College.
Marino? Oh, yeah.
Good evening, I'm Karen Garcia, and I'm the Director of Communications for the University of Nevada, Reno.
Good evening, Elena Bodnova, Associate Vice President for Research, Marketing, and Web Services, and I'm kind of holding down the fort on government affairs for TMCC for the time being. Thank you.
Mark Gann, Vice President for Special Projects and General Counsel, Western Nevada College.
Sonia Seibert, Vice President for Business Affairs, Great Basin College.
And Tracy Bauer, Director of External
The
Affairs
conference
with
is
DRI.
about to end.
So they'll be there on a daily basis. Contact them. Again, whenever you need anything, talk directly to the presidents. And with that, we have a few more minutes for any questions.
Just a quick question. When you said that the presidents can come up as well, will faculty and staff be able to participate in the process? Because that is so important to us then to get a lot of form emails Don't do that. No, just kidding. I mean, really, and I'll speak for myself as a legislator. I want to hear individually and individual thoughts about what the issues are, and very welcome and open for you to come and visit us or a conference call or something like that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you, Assemblyman. To your point, yes. I mean, and I'll speak on behalf of the Regents too, and I think our student and faculty representatives, they are part of our discussions at the Board of Regents. Our Regents want to listen to our students and faculty. When we hosted forums with our Nevada Promise students, the stories they told of their pathways were so moving. You were there in the South, up north. Some of the rural students were so moving, and those students actually said they want to come testify in the legislature. I know you would much rather hear many times from those. We encourage that fully.
Yeah, we intend to be there. And also, I think that we can be a good source to answer the kinds of questions you've been asking this evening. You asked about the prison education system. We actually have a UNLV student who's about ready to receive his master's degree in social work, who came up through the prison education system. I won't say his last name. His first name is Cornell. We've been working with him. We've got all of these examples of how it works and how, those of us who've worked with him. I haven't worked with him, but I know the faculty who do, and or even the question about how to keep physicians in Nevada, which is really all about growing residencies as much as graduating medical students, and that's a larger state enterprise. We can all have expertise that I hope you'll rely on us for, also for your legislative agenda that may not be directly related to higher education, though everything is.
Chris?
I'm sorry, Christopher Royce for the record again. My apologies. One of the purposes of me even speaking here was to inform you all that at least with UNLV student government, we're planning on at least 6 to 8 legislative lobbying trips. And then I know that our counterparts up north at UNR are planning on several trips as well as our friends over at CSN, NSHE, and GBC, and WNC and TMCC as well. So yeah, we will be there, we will be present, and we will be available for any discussions or questions, and we keep an open mind to these discussions, and we know that it's a very complex and laborious process, and we respect that, and we respect the work that you all do for our state as a citizen legislature, so we appreciate it.
And Mr. Chairman, we have a pretty general list so far of the institution days that we'll share with all of you, and the legislative representatives from each institution will, I'm sure they'll contact you as well.
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
So Kyle Dalpy, I'm the interim executive director of legislative affairs, and I'll be in Carson, as the chancellor mentioned. If you need somebody from a campus, you can call on me. I'll make sure you have my contact information, and then I'll work with our campus reps to get students or faculty down there, whatever is needed, because I know that that's really the story everybody wants to hear. So.
It's 6:29. We said 6:30. I mean, it's right. But any other additional questions? We'll be around here, as I said, to contact us at any time. And I can't tell you how much I really appreciate you taking the time and learning more about the higher education system. Thank you.